Okay, I think we are live. Let's see. Yes, we are. Okay, welcome everybody to our weekly Tuesday afternoon live stream. This week, I am your host, Dana Morningstar, and with me is the wonderful and talented and lovely Angie Atkinson. Angie, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So happy to have you. And for those of you that are new here, this is a live stream that Angie and I try to do every Tuesday afternoon. We rotate channels. So if you're interested in something like this, uh, please consider subscribing to both of us. So you can find Angie over at Angie Atkinson on YouTube. And you can also subscribe to text notifications when either of us go live. You can join Angie's by going to Angie Live, or I should say, texting the words Angie Live, all one word, to the number 33222, or you can text Dana Live, all one word, to the number 22999. Okay. And with that said, I guess let's just kind of jump into it. We were talking about, Angie and I were thinking about discussing Valentine's Day, since that's right around the corner here. And that's a day that can be very difficult for a lot of people if they're recently out of a breakup, or even if it's not so recent, if they're single or um, estranged from family uh, or whatnot. So we thought we would kind of have a conversation around that and some ideas on how to make this Valentine's Day actually enjoyable.
Imagine.
So yeah, Angie, what are some of your thoughts about that?
Well, just to start off, I mean, we kind of talked before. I think you said love yourself day, and I think I said self love day. Same thing. We think.
Mhm.
I think.
Mhm.
I think that if you are in a situation, I think even if you do have a spouse or a partner, I think Valentine's Day is an ideal way to maybe take a pause and go, what can I do to love myself more or care about myself more or tolerate myself more,
Mhm.
depending on where you are in the process, right? So sometimes when it comes to self love, I think we end up, as survivors, we end up um, failing ourselves because we were taught that we don't matter or we're not good enough or whatever. And so we sort of believed that. So, what better time to, to take the time and go, you know what, I really do deserve to be loved. And as a matter of fact, it occurs to me that if I don't love myself, who's going to love me? I mean, I know that
Mhm.
sounds cliche, right? But it's really the truth, especially in this community, because we fail ourselves a lot in that way. And so what I would suggest for everybody is take some time on before around Valentine's Day, the
Mhm.
day after, the day before, whatever, and do some self-care. Do something for yourself that you might do for someone you love, because my friend, if you don't love yourself, you can't even really know yourself. Does that make sense? Like,
Mhm.
and if you do love yourself, then you will not tolerate abuse anymore. At least my experience has been that. How about yours?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think everything kind of good that life has to offer starts when we start loving ourselves
Totally agree.
and really getting in tune with what that looks like and what that means. And loving ourselves isn't a like an egotistical, arrogant, holier than thou
Good
kind of
point.
attitude. It's a place of it's a deep knowing, it's a deep sense of I have worth and I
Hmm.
matter and I'm here and
Hmm.
I can impact change in my life and in the life of others. And it's treating ourselves with value. And I love the idea of doing something kind and good for ourselves because you're so spot on with that, Ange. So many people on Valentine's Day, it's like they think, and I fall into this camp too, where it's been like, well, gosh, I didn't get a Valentine from anybody, or I'm single, or kind of looking to other people to make us feel a certain way, to make us feel loved or safe or secure or important. And
Hmm.
realizing that that can start with us, that we don't need to wait for other people to see our worth, that we can see it and be like, okay, on today is a great time to start doing that. And um, yeah,
I
being
love that.
extra good to ourselves.
Yeah, and something you just said just really clicked in my head.
Yeah.
And it's not probably what you think. You said I didn't get a Valentine, and that's one of the things we all feel. Many of us feel.
Mhm.
Oop, sorry, I was like, "Why are you talking?" Okay, but it was just the sorry. The stream just started for me on the I can't make it stop. Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Anyway, I got it now. Okay. It was just talking in my ear. I'm sorry. So my point was, the Valentine thing. You said, we're sad because we didn't get a Valentine, and that in that moment that you said that, something clicked in my head, and I thought we should all make Valentines for ourselves. Imagine what
Oh,
that would be like, right?
yes.
I think it's
Oh,
a
I
really good
love
idea.
that so much.
I think it's a really good idea. I
Let's
wonder. Tell me what were you going to
do
just say?
that. How can we do that?
Well, I was just thinking, what could we create a place that people could show us these? Maybe we could make a Pinterest board or a hashtag or something. I'd really like to see what everybody's doing with
I
theirs,
would
wouldn't you?
too. I would
Yeah,
love to see images from
yeah,
people that are post
yeah,
let's discuss that. We'll post down in the comments after this video airs our idea. If you guys in the chat have any ideas how we could do that,
yeah.
um, we could maybe, I don't know, we could put a page up on my website or your website or
Both.
both or
Yeah,
something and come up with something. I freaking love that so
yeah.
much.
I think it's such a good idea. And while we're at it, guys, if you're here in the chat now, put your thoughts about what is something nice you could do for yourself on Valentine's Day, because maybe some of us we don't know for sure, or maybe some
Mhm.
people are still kind of hurting too much and they can't think of anything, or just let's share some ideas on what we can do to make ourselves feel loved on Valentine's Day, in
Mhm.
addition to a sweet little Valentine card to yourself, which I'm totally into, by the way. I'm totally going to do it.
Oh, I'm totally gonna do it too. I am
Yeah,
so excited about this.
it's a great idea.
Um, yeah,
Okay.
something, this may again sound really obvious, um, but one of the recent aha moments that I've had has been with treating myself with value and love around
Hmm.
food.
Love it.
And I have battled with the numbers on the scale with my weight pretty much my whole life since probably the age of 10.
With you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
and it's always my battle with my body has always come from a place of, like, self-loathing,
Hmm.
right? It's shame-based, disgust,
Same.
it's been a battle, and it's been, "I've gotta change this is gross," punishment, treating myself like a drill sergeant,
Hmm.
it very, very unhealthy, and that's something that I've known that I wanted to change for a long time, that I really wanted to work on having especially after, some eating disorder stuff and everything else, like, okay, I really want to have a healthy relationship with food and a healthy relationship with myself. And
Hmm.
so it started probably 10 years ago after my relationship with Jack, buying food that was higher quality. And we've
Mm.
had that discussion,
Hmm.
spending a little bit extra and just buying stuff that actually was good instead of buying stuff that was on
Just the
sale or the
cheapest.
cheapest
Yeah.
possible stuff. And so I've been really getting into cooking lately, and it's so interesting because now it's coming from a place I still battle that of, oh, I really I want to see the numbers on the scale go down and
Hmm.
all of that, but it's it's more of a, oh, this is my time to just kind of be in the kitchen and
Hmm.
cook something that's delicious
Yeah.
and nourishing and that I know is going to be good for my body long term. And what's been so wild is so many of my cravings have
Mm.
just vanished.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes, it
Yeah.
really, really is. There's just so much to loving ourselves and yeah, what that looks like across the board.
It's a really good point, and I'll tell you something, I think I've been working on I've kinda bounced around lately, not lately, I'm going down, but,
Mhm,
uh, the COVID thing and a couple other things that happened in my life last year, well, 2019 and then COVID,
mhm,
um, kinda left me well, I gained, 50 pounds or more, which is terrible, but over that 2 years probably, and so now I've lost, 40 something of the
mhm,
pounds, and I was never skinny to begin with, so, you know, but I'm feeling a lot healthier and doing different things, you know. For me, it's a lazy game, and I'm not gonna lie to you. Um, I'm not in that place right now where I want something that tastes good, but I don't care that much about, I don't have time to cook all the time, you know, so sometimes I'm a little lazy. So the Nutrisystem thing is what I'm doing, where they basically send the food to my front door and I eat the food. It's great.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, not daily, it comes, you know, a couple times a month.
Right.
You know, bought a big freezer. It's all good.
Mhm.
Um, but for me, that works. And for me, that is one way that I am sort of um, r- reimagining my relationship with food. Not because I did the cheap thing for a long time. I did, and this is not cheap, but
Yeah.
but it is okay. It's good, and the food is balanced in a way that would be hard for me to do by myself in my
Mhm.
current, you know, way of thinking because I'm just busy,
Well, I
just
was
too.
gonna say, yeah, you're
Yeah,
super busy and yeah.
yeah. So that it works out. You know, it's a little bit uh, um, of a coordination with the kids and stuff is difficult 'cause of course I don't put them on Nutrisystem. So I try to make sure that, you know, but in general, my point is that I just found something that worked in my particular lifestyle. And so
Mhm.
I think whatever if your body is one of your issues that you're personally working on, which I think if we're honest, a large percentage of people are working on something about their body.
Mhm.
You know, and if you are trying to lose weight and that's something, and I'm not, let me just clarify, I'm in no way affiliated with Nutrisystem. I'm not, there's no, I'm not saying use Nutrisystem. I'm saying it
Mhm.
works for me. And I'm not getting paid to say that. Unfortunately, I'm just kidding. um, but, but my point is, it's just one, you know, with you in the food thing, you know, buying healthier things, buying things that are higher quality, those types of things, very much a self-love thing. For me personally, at this point, those things would also be good. But my laziness and my busyness makes this the thing for me. So I think what my point is my, lifestyle choices based on what works in your life. That's part of self-love
Mhm.
for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just talking around.
Yep, 100%. Well, I think that's a big part of it because there
Yeah,
can be this, oh, kind of like hidden pressure that we might not even realize of, oh,
mhm,
well, I should be doing things differently or, um, whatever. And kind of just getting honest with ourselves of, okay, well, where is my life right now? Kind of
right.
what's working for me right now and kind of making peace with that.
Yes.
And, and that's a good place. That's a good place to start.
Well, and on that same note, in general, I find for me, one of the things that I started to do when I kind of got past the point where I was, you know, living for other people,
Mhm.
um, I I got to this place where I was able to go, you know, there are things about me that are weird and that don't work like normal people have or whatever. And one
Mhm.
of those things is I have ADHD. And so in that case, that means I'm not as naturally organized or I get distracted easily, but also I can hyper focus, you
Mhm.
know, and little whatever. So what I'm saying is it's not just about food. Anything in your life where you need to modify, I think I've showed you 1,000 times. It's sitting across the table right now, so I won't get it. But my bullet journal, that's one of the little things I do for myself. It's a self-love thing, but it's also a keep my, you know, it's a modified version that works for me.
Mhm.
That's what pretty much everything in my life that works is. It's a
Mhm.
modified version of what works for other people because the same things
Mhm.
don't always work for me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think self-love is also recognizing if you have what some people might call limitations. I like to call them quirks, um,
Mhm.
and working around them. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's all a big part of self-acceptance and
Mhm.
kind of just running our own race and realizing that we're all different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. 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 Let me see. Did you get any? Oh, okay. I did find those a few of those comments from last week, by the way, but I'm not sure that I have questions. I'll let you know if I do.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm going to scroll in the chat here.
Okay. I will do the same. Oop, see, I was sharing the post out to make sure people could see us that we were here. All right, let's see. Okay. So here you go. Jack Gooding says, I think it makes a big difference having better quality food to cook it, enjoy it, and not think about the weight rather than the goodness going to your body. I totally agree with that. And I'm not saying my way's right. I'm saying it works for me. you know, and it is, in my case, it works because it's balanced in the way that is the best thing for my particular situation. What with the different, the amounts of fiber versus fat versus whatever in the food, as well as, my own
Mhm.
laziness. Anyway, but you're right.
Yeah.
It is better to do it that way. Yeah. What
Yeah,
were
I
we going to
think
say?
it's yeah, it's whatever works for you and whatever you think is sustainable.
Totally. Yeah.
We've been doing more of like a keto, um, vegan. We eat vegan keto.
What
Um,
the?
I
Really?
know. Yeah,
How does that even work?
I know. Well, it sounds like it would be really difficult, but it's
Yeah.
it's not. And we don't do full keto, so the goal isn't to get into ketosis necessarily. It's just like significantly lower carb.
Okay.
But Paul is a type 2 diabetic. So,
Oh,
and his blood sugar is he really struggles with maintaining it. So he might even be a type 1 diabetic at this point. So we've been um, part of it is trying to get his blood sugar controlled. And
sure.
um, yeah, but it's, the first couple of weeks I just wanted to cry. I was very overwhelmed trying to find all these different foods and try
Oh,
to
I
figure
bet.
it out. And
Hmm.
everything was so different. And, you do things wrong, or you think you're following kind of low carb, and then you find out that it's not. And it's a whole emotional roller coaster. But now that we're kind of on track with it, it's pretty
Hmm.
effortless. And um, yeah, so we just got a bread maker the other day and an air fryer. And so now we're trying all these like low carb, um, different flours like almond flour and coconut flour and all kinds of stuff. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's a whole
absolutely.
thing. We'll see.
Yep. I I think, I mean, it's definitely not easy, right? But it's worth a shot, I guess. It's hard. I mean, that to me is, and just from just from my personal perspective, I feel overwhelmed by even hearing that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that I couldn't figure it out if I needed to, of course, but you know, I do have one kid who's a vegetarian. So so I do know that that stuff can get expensive. But also, um, I feel like there are so few. I guess it depends on where you live too. I feel like it's not that easy to get all the vegan things. Um, Sometimes, I guess Walmart has a little selection, but I feel like are you limited, do you think, or is it just the protein sources, or how do you?
No, even pro
I
stuff nowadays is pretty easy to be vegan. It's just kind of figuring out what swaps to
sure,
make
yeah.
and, having your
Ha-
palate adjust.
Have you always been vegan, or is it new for you?
No, I've been vegetarian for, gosh, pretty much since I was 14, 15,
Look at
13,
you.
maybe.
I learned something new about you
Yeah,
today
yeah.
now.
And
That's
um
awesome.
yeah, and then became vegan when I was in my early 20s, and then wasn't that did not last for a multitude of reasons, and then went back to vegetarian, now back to vegan. Uh, so I feel I tell you what's made the most difference in terms of my health has been the eating lower carb.
Mm,
I'm just shocked by how
for
many
sure.
of my cravings just vanished and how
Mhm.
much clearer I feel across the
I
board.
can, yeah, I can actually relate to that one a little bit because my thing is relatively low carb. I mean,
Yeah,
not
yeah, that's
keto low
true.
carb, but yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. But I did try actual keto once, and it was terrible for me. I did not do well. I thought I was going to do okay, but no, I don't think it's for me.
Yeah, I just for me, I don't think that would be sustainable doing
Mm,
it so low where you're in ketosis. And I just want something that I can sustain. And I feel like making enough of the swaps,
hmm.
eating lower carb, that's going to be sustainable. And,
Totally.
you know, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Cool. Okay.
yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. So, yeah, we'll hop back in the chat here. Let's see.
So changing
Oh,
my life. Go ahead. Tell me.
I was just, you had a question. I have a question too.
You go. It's okay.
Okay. This is from Hosiery, who asks, can someone get social anxiety from narcissistic abuse?
Oh gosh, yeah, for sure. right? I personally did, and I think a lot of us do. I've had some people so extreme that they needed a lot of help. And you know what it is I think part of it starts with, you know, when you're in that relationship. I don't know about you, but I think a lot of us have. I personally did. I felt without even realizing it, I started to isolate myself. I thought, but what I was doing was isolating myself from because the narcissist was making it difficult for me to be around other people very often or to
Mhm.
deal with, you know, and then I even like ended up cutting off some lifelong friends, which I hate to say that, but it's true. Because I kind of just lost myself. And so, yeah, I think a lot of people go through social anxiety. I've written about it quite a bit personally. I'm sure you have as well, Dana. Um, it's a it's a definite possibility. I've seen it a lot. So,
Mhm.
yes. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you bring up a great point about isolating, and I think that's very normal and understandable after a person's been hurt.
Hmm.
It's like a when an animal's wounded, it let's say if you have a pet that's wounded, it's going to probably go hide under the deck
Yeah.
or go to the far corner of the yard. And people, we do the same thing.
Hmm.
So, we want to just crawl in bed and put the covers over our head, or just we just don't want to interact with other people.
Yeah.
And then the added part to that is that anxiety of, oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm terrified to get hurt again. I don't know who I can trust.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know how to trust. I don't trust my own judgment. And so there can just be a lot of anxiety about that. One of the things that can help with that is realizing, um, or kind of getting in tune with kind of trusting. A very wise woman I was talking to last night was talking about this, and she said, made the comment about learning to trust our resiliency
Mm.
and trust within ourselves. And I think that's so spot on of, okay, you know what? I know when somebody's behavior is problematic, and I know that I know how to respond to it. I can either get massive physical distance, go no contact, go low contact, or be assertive
Hmm.
and speak up. Um, I don't have to rely on other people to treat me perfectly all the time or even treat me well all of the time, because I know how to protect myself through boundaries and through effective communication. But if they do end up hurting me, um, emotionally or physically, or I guess more so emotionally and psychologically, trusting our ability to be resilient of,
Yeah.
okay, you know what? I don't have to internalize this. I don't have to make this about me. If they
Yeah.
say something hurtful to us, then that's not necessary. That's a reflection of them. That's not a reflection of us.
Absolutely the truth. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah. So on that next note,
mhm.
um, oh, sorry. I was just trying to hurry up and make us an email account, by the way, that we could share.
Oh, okay.
um, and then I got distracted, but I'll come back to that. That way we could pass it out to everybody. I just want to make sure I could get the one that I want. They could send their Valentine's cards to us.
Okay, that's a great
Um,
idea.
yeah. Okay. Um, Changing My Life said, speaking of Valentine's Day cards, I was saying yesterday I'd only gotten one Valentine's Day card, and they were so offended that I forgot all her kids uh, were so offended I forgot all their cute made in school cards. I love my kids' cards, and I like that too. And then I saw something else that I wanted to share. Jack said he might even buy himself a really nice card, and I think that's great too. I love anything like that, so I just wanted to throw that out there. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think the Valentine's Day thing is a really fun idea. I think it's a good idea for us as a community, you know, and I think it'll be good for each individual person who participates.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Anywho, um, oh, and Samantha adds that meditation works wonders to build up self-love, and that's true. Oh, and Michelle wants to make herself a Valentine. Love it. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I think there's a lot of real possibility there. And I like the meditation idea as well. I do a different sort of meditation. Like I'm not very good at that kind of thing because I get to my thoughts keep going. But I find that just popping in some headphones and moving at all, even if it's just like slowly walking around the block, but headphones get me moving a little faster if I listen to the good stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but I find that to be a form of meditation because it clears my head because I can't. this is the same reason I can't listen to music when I work because my head sings along to the music. And so if that happens, then I can't be thinking about anything else,
Mhm.
which sounds silly, but yeah, anyway, a little tip if anybody's ADHD or struggles to focus.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a comment from Michelle. I
Mhm.
love this. She says, I like to think of responsibilities such as making myself food or making my bed as if I was doing it for a special guest, but I'm the special guest. It's
Love
not a
it.
have to, but a want to. I love that.
I do too.
Love that. I mean, you could really go oh, I think I'm going to run with that, Michelle. I really like that. Getting some like, or making your own linen spray with some essential oils and distilled water and spraying your sheets,
Mhm.
or taking a steamer and getting the wrinkles out of your sheets or the comforter, or just really making your bed nicely, or um, yeah.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, I need to step up my game with that because when I noticed this the other night, I still do the plate thing. I'll my plate when I prepare food or when I serve food looks the worst. So I kind of take the plate that I just kind of, I just slap stuff on there. But other people's plates, I'll arrange stuff. So theirs
Oh,
looks the best. Mine is, I don't put in the time and effort into it. And that's going to change starting tonight. So thank you, Michelle, for that tip.
I love it. Love it. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, somebody just gave you a super chat there, Dana.
Oh, they did.
Helpful
Oh, yeah,
mom.
they sure did. Oh, I love that. Okay, so Helpful
Yeah.
Mom says, when I broke up with my ex, I decided to be on my own. So for a while, wait, I decided to be on my own. So for a while and took myself on dates. Oh, wait a minute. I decided to be my own significant other for a while and took
Love it.
myself on dates and bought myself gifts. Once I took a tour of my home city via the local transit system. I even bought myself flowers. It helped. I love that. What a fun adventure. And thank you so much for the super chat, Helpful Mom. And thank you for
Yes.
everything that you do here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, I think that's a great idea too. I love so yeah, definitely share any of those ideas that you guys have. I think it would be fun to make a like a self-love list or something, you know?
I do too. And you know what I
Yeah.
was thinking about with cards? Because
Tell me.
uh, I have some weird anxiety about cards. And I've mentioned this before. like it's, it, I feel like if I'm going to make something, I want to use it. But so I think I'm going to take the idea of the the Valentine's Day card
Mhm.
and either make it into a painting
Mhm.
or I'm going to decorate a pot.
I think that's perfect.
And
And
yeah,
tell me more.
yes. And yes, that's, I think, what I'm going to do. So I don't know. I'm going to kind of run with that idea a little bit.
I love it. And I think everybody should do that. I mean, what not that specific thing, but something that works for you. Like I just decided I'm going to turn this particular wall in this room into something else, make it pretty. So that whenever I look at it, because it's I usually sit on the when I'm working, I sit on the other side of this table. And so when I'm looking that way, where you can't see right now, there's a wall that's not properly decorated. And so I'm gonna fix it. I just decided. But I don't know if
Mhm.
that's a self-love thing or a lazy person thing, but there it is. I do
Oh,
like things to be pretty.
yeah, I think it's valuing your space
Yeah.
and noticing all of the little things that we do that impact us
Mhm.
negatively or positively, and deciding to move in a different direction. Kind of like what I was
Yes.
saying with the food thing. Like that's 100%. Well, I shouldn't say it's 100% laziness. Like when I make my plate and it's just kind of messy, like I don't clean off the edges. I don't. There's no like. Gordon Ramsay would have a fit. There's no presentation involved when I make my
No
own plate.
garnish or anything.
Not even
Feeling
not
it.
even in the zip code of
Right.
that level. But you know, and I thought it was laziness, but it's really just it's a subtle way of saying like, oh, it's not important, right?
Mm.
Kind of like settling for those proverbial crumbs. And the reality is it is important. And all those little actions that we do take of having a space that we're not thrilled about, or um, yeah, these kinds of things. It's realizing that we matter, and treating ourselves like we would a guest,
Yep.
like a valued, treating ourselves like somebody we value, like a valued guest. Yeah,
Indeed. Yeah. I love, love, love that. Okay. MS Moon Grable, I'm not sure if I'm saying the last part right, but it looks like Grable said, it has a funny joke. I'm just going to share it really quick. What do you get with a what do you get when you combine a unicorn with balloons? Do you know?
I don't.
No more balloons.
Oh,
I think
that's
it's
cute.
cute. I like a good wholesome joke.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do too.
Anyway, okay.
That's cute.
Yeah. I like Jack's idea of emailing us a photo of how they're celebrating. I love that idea. I need to, I can't focus on doing the extra email address. So I'll send it to Dana when we're done here and she can put it in the
We'll
description
post
and
it.
stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And then I'll post it. We can post it in our groups too.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Good, good.
Here's a question from Demetrio,
Mhm.
who says, "Why would a narcissist become kind and caring all of a sudden to become abusive and disrespectful again? Why
Yeah.
bother? I've been in limited contact. I share a kid with one. I'm
Yeah.
divorced."
Okay. They get nice when they want something from you, or they are trying to suck you back in for some reason. Now, if it's the person you're divorced from and you have a child with them, they may be angling to get some sort of extra time or to have you have extra time so they can go do something else, or it could be that they want money, or it could be that they want your attention because they're not getting attention from their current source of supply or they don't have one. But it's almost always because they want something, and then of course they do switch back to their usual thing, or because they could lose something. So that sometimes, if you tell a narcissist, you know what, I'm done, I'm out, suddenly they become perfect, so until you agree to stay, or if you stop putting up with some crap from a narcissist, you start gray rocking, they might notice that and they might go, how do I get this person's attention again? And then they realize when they're nice to you, you give them less negativity, or less less gray rock, and then
Hmm.
they might be nicer. So I wouldn't fall for it. Dana, your thoughts?
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's hard really to say like what is going through their mind, but I think if we had to guess, Angie was spot on with it. So, the reality is just kind of keep those healthy boundaries in place. And I think too, it helps to realize when you're dealing with somebody who has shown you that they have deeply dysfunctional behavior,
Hmm.
whether they're a narcissist or anything else, regardless of their diagnosis. Um, if they've shown you that they don't have effective communication, right? They kind of go from idealization to that devaluation. And
Hmm.
there's passive behavior, or I should say not even passive, like that ingratiating behavior. And then there's very aggressive behavior, or then there's passive aggressive behavior. There's kind of everything other than assertive behavior. Just kind of realize, okay, they're just ping-ponging. Um, between the way that they normally communicate. This is how they communicate. This is how they go through life getting their needs met. They don't have they at this point in time, and probably never, but this point in time, they don't have the skill set to communicate effectively
Indeed.
or to really regulate their own emotions. So, uh, yeah, that's why.
Yep. I yep. Valid, valid. I have another idea for a Valentine thing to do for yourself. Bonnie says, mail yourself a Valentine's Day card. Really, I like that. I also like the idea of sending yourself flowers. By the way, I think that's a good idea
Mhm.
too. Yeah, yeah. I had a client a couple of years ago who was just really, really struggling because it was her birthday and she didn't have anyone. And even though her family is around, they weren't going to be doing anything. And so so I sent her a little bouquet of flowers, a little bouquet of flowers. She was a longtime client. And I think after that she started to do it for herself and I thought that was really cool. So anyway.
Mhm.
Yes. Oh, Peggy says happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Let's see.
Yeah.
MS
Yeah.
got flowers for the house too. Yeah, go ahead. What were we going to say?
Oh, I like that.
Me too.
One of the things, it took me a very long time to notice that I was doing this. And it still it makes me like really sad to even think about this. But uh after kind of everything I went through, the whole kind of self-isolating and pulling back and kind of benching myself, taking a time out from life. Uh, one of the um, and I don't it wasn't a conscious thing. It was but I became very avoidant
Mm,
and very disconnected.
mhm.
And that trickled over into the relationships in my life. So people just kind of got to the point of like, oh, well, just don't ask Dana to do anything, or she's not going to come home for the holidays, or and so people, you say no enough times, people quit asking.
They do.
And I realized, and there's been a couple moments, I mean, this was like 10 years that I
Wow,
did this.
that's
And
a long time.
yeah, it is a long time. And even still, I'm shocked at kind of this level of like aloof indifference I tend to have towards holidays because I'm so used to just being tuned out to them. Um, that it's sort of like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to re-engage, but now I kind of need to get all of that figured out again. Like, what does that look like, and how can I be? Um, how can I kind of reconnect? It's weird. It's a weird thing. You wouldn't think that you would have to really consciously think about that, how to reconnect with other people and um, uh, you know, do these things. But it's yeah. So if anybody else is struggling with that, just kind of realize that you're not alone, and um, I guess do push yourself a little bit outside of your comfort zone when it
Yeah,
comes to that.
yeah. I think, Dana, I think that is a very common issue for those of us here. And as you're talking, I can even see in some places where, especially in situations where people who uh, maybe I don't trust them for some reason, or I doubt their sincerity or whatever. I definitely still probably do that a little bit with people who, in IRL, you know what I mean? I'm not saying
Mhm,
it's a constant thing, but I'm definitely a lot pickier about who's in my inner circle than I've ever been, you know?
mhm,
And I think it's okay, but you're right. It's really important. And I've talked about this before, using gray rock safely, right? Because Gray Rock, before it was named that, to me, was going to my happy place. And it was something I just made up. I didn't make up Gray Rock. Let me just clarify that. And I didn't understand the full implication of it. But what
mhm,
I would do is, in my own head, when I would be in the depths of someone coming at me verbally or whatever, I would literally kind of I did it accidentally a couple of times where I kinda just glazed over and went somewhere else, and then
mhm,
I started doing it on purpose because I realized it was less painful than being there in that moment, and
mhm,
so when I started to sort of intentionally vacate my body almost, during those events, I certainly started to really struggle even more than I ever had with dissociation, and I think a lot of people who go through this do exactly that, and then they end up it's you have to be careful to still allow yourself to feel things is my point.
mhm,
So
mhm.
that I'm really glad you brought that up. That's a big important thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I have a
Me
Go
oh,
ahead, tell me.
okay, Michelle says real quick, that she likes to have a dance party while she cooks.
Mm, I
I
love
like
that. I love it. I'll have a dance party every morning while I make my breakfast.
I like that.
Yeah, I walk in and tell the machine, whose name I will not say right now, starts with an A. I tell it to turn on the music, and then I go in the next room and I do my thing and get my silliness on. It feels good. Sometimes
Mhm,
I sing too because it's good for your polyvagal thing. Okay,
mhm.
your Vegas. Um, on the same, I want to add this too. Michelle said, "I've isolated and enjoyed it, but the feeling of building healthy friendships has been amazing. So worth the risk." And I totally agree with that. And I think it's okay to isolate sometimes if you want to. I also have isolated and enjoyed it. Sometimes I still do. But again, it's that balance. I think finding that balance, and you're totally right about that. I did have a question from darn it. It was about wanting to know, and I'm trying to find it so I can actually say the person's name, but it just scrolled down on me. It's anyway. Somebody said, "How do I?" Here it goes. Kristen said, "Why do I always attract narcissist boyfriends? I don't understand. I always learn the hard way, but they find me, and I don't see it at first." So I would say we all attract narcissists in different ways. Everyone does. Narcissists, I can go through the whole reason that, you're an empath, you're compassionate, you react swiftly to their emotions, and they notice that early, so they start to, use that against you, and so on and so forth. Um, I could tell you that it's because maybe you were raised by a toxic person or you had some other sort of trauma in childhood. But ultimately, I think what the truth is that all of those things mean that you aren't very good at setting your boundaries and standing behind them. That's not your fault. We've all been there. I still struggle sometimes. But when you recognize the issue, then you can start to overcome it. So my suggestion to you would be to take your, you know, before you start a new relationship again, decide what your deal breakers are. For me, I don't tolerate physical or emotional abuse. You can't do anything to, like, what was it? Oh, cheat. You can't cheat on me. And you can't hurt my kids in any way. Other than that, we could talk about it. But those three things, I'm out. No, no discussion. Those are my deal breakers. So what are your deal breakers? Figure those out and then be prepared to literally, no matter how hot this person is, walk away if they break the deal breakers. And I think that's step one. And beyond that, you need to learn to care about yourself enough that you don't tolerate any BS from anybody. And that's something that took me a long time to get to. So I'm not pretending like it's easy, but I think that's the point at which you will stop attracting narcissists. And it won't be that they won't still be attracted to you. It will just be that you will not tolerate their crap and they will not be of interest to you. Dana, your thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the power in that comes from realizing, um, you know, we attract who we attract. It's more so how long we keep somebody in our life.
Yep.
And so once that problematic behavior surfaces, that's when we need to be able to know how to respond to it, and know when to walk away.
Yep.
So, there's lots of problematic people out there, and it's going to be, it's not so much about somehow preventing them from being attracted to us or steering clear of them. It's knowing how do we handle, uh, you know, disrespect,
Yep.
basically. How do we handle being treated in a way that we're not okay with by somebody
Right. And in
when
order
that
to,
happens?
yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to say this. In order to uh, really know, okay, you know what, this is not acceptable, you must respect and love yourself first. Really,
Hmm.
truly.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, a lot of people don't, I know we don't always love the term self love. Okay, accept yourself, but you have to love yourself a little bit to get to the point that you go, wait a minute, I don't deserve that. And one really easy exercise I do all the time is if you are doubting your own yourself, your boundaries, your right to have them, anything like that, ask yourself, who, for me, it's a kid, one of my kids. For you, maybe it's, if you don't have your own kids, maybe it's a niece, a nephew, brother, sister, somebody you just care a lot about, right? Somebody you love unconditionally. If that person would come to you and say to you, this is my problem, and it's the same problem you're having at any given moment, what would you say to that person? Because for me, that turns everything all around. Because even when I'm not so pro Angie, and I'm like, I'm not loving myself that much today, I can still remember, I can still think about what would I say to my kid, because I always love my kids, even when I don't love me. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, which I do love me, but I have days, we all do, you know, but that's a thing. It's a good benchmark, right? To ask yourself, like, okay, well, I love this person unconditionally. If they said to me, would you go out with this person that acted like this? I would say, hell no, kiddo, or whatever. And
Mm.
then tell yourself the same, give yourself that kind of love, and you can't fail almost. You really, yeah, my thought.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. All of this circles back to self-love.
Hmm.
And um, when we value ourselves, when we realize, hey, you know what, I matter. And because I matter, I am worthy of being treated with dignity and respect by other people. This isn't something that I need to earn. This is just the basics of um, appropriate behavior from other people. It's just manners, right?
Yeah.
And and I won't tolerate anything less. And so if we're being treated in a way that's definitely crossing over into issues of dignity and respect, but crossing our boundaries or even treating us in a way that we're not comfortable with, realizing that yeah, we need to address that with that person.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
And um yeah,
Yep.
so, and then go from there. And realizing part of setting boundaries is having a consequence for them. So if we have, because I've seen a lot of people who are like, gosh, you know what, I am assertive, like I feel like I have really good boundaries, and but then they're with a person who's, I don't know, constantly texting sexting their exes or
Mhm.
whatever, that kind of thing. Well, and then they bring it up, and then their partner gets defensive,
Yeah.
you know? So
Mhm.
it's knowing what's a problem for you and holding to that and not looking for other people to validate that, because sometimes you might get that validation and sometimes you might not. So it's knowing when something's not okay with you and
Mhm.
then being able to walk away instead of thinking, oh well, I just need to keep telling my partner this is not okay, this is not okay, this is not okay. uh, your partner knows, they heard you the first time.
Yeah.
So if somebody's doing something that's that egregious, this is when you leave,
Mhm.
and being okay to walk away from relationships and realizing that not every relationship is meant to be lifelong.
Yep.
So,
100%.
yeah.
100%. I didn't even know you left. I just saw it on the replay.
Oh, yeah, somebody was ringing the doorbell. I got a delivery of some kind.
Oh, good. Anyway, um, okay, Monica says she's gonna paint her nails. Her mother always shamed her for it because apparently getting nail work done was a luxury to her. Listen, I can relate to that. I was once told, I can't believe my daughter wears makeup and paints her nails. Like,
Mm,
what? Okay, anyway, no, I get it. It's shaming, um, money shaming or luxury shaming in that case, or girly shaming, or high maintenance shaming, whatever you want to call it. Good for you for getting your nails done.
mhm.
Get you a little diamond on there too, and a fake one.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll stop.
yeah, yeah,
I really think it's a good self love thing. So,
yeah.
you'll, yeah.
You know what else I was just thinking of? I was having this conversation with somebody the other day about um, feeling cute. And so, kind of along the lines of what you're talking about, this
Mhm,
is what jogged my memory. And one of a big aha for me, and I think I've shared this with you before, was okay. So it was an article I was reading from Dita Von Teese, who's Marilyn Manson's ex-wife,
yeah.
and she's a burlesque dancer. She's all about kind of just this very sensual femininity, I guess you
Mhm,
could say. And somebody had asked her something along the lines of like, okay, but what kind of like what do you wear on the weekends? Like
mm,
what kind of bra and panties do you just what's your comfort wear? And she's like, oh no, this is it. She's like, this is all I wear is this, you know, kind of she puts a lot of effort into lingerie and stuff because she really likes it. And she's like, I do this for me. She's
yeah.
like, it doesn't matter if I'm on stage or if I'm with my husband. She's like, I like to feel cute for me.
Mhm,
And that was such an aha moment. And I think there's so many ladies especially out there who it's like, gosh, you know what, yeah, am I waiting around to feel cute, waiting
mm,
around till I have a partner to
mhm,
feel a certain way, or um, can we, spending that extra time and money and energy and having clothes that maybe nobody else sees, cute bras or panties or whatever, pajamas, that it's just for you, feeling cute for you.
I love it.
Yeah,
I'm into it. I'm
I
into
am
it.
too. I am too. And it's weird because then you get to this place where you're like, why did I do anything other than this?
Right,
Like you're gonna be buying underwear and bras anyhow. So
right.
why not buy stuff that you like there? And it is possible, I know that there's comfort wear and then there's like sexy wear, but there is
Mhm.
that gray zone of things that are cute and comfortable.
That is where I live.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't always live there, but I do now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with it. I love it. I have done that same thing, and in fact, in the last year or 2, I actually started wearing real pajamas, which sounds so silly, but I've never worn real pajamas before.
Mhm.
Like, I always used to just wear, like, sweats or old, shorts and a T-shirt or whatever, or nothing when I was younger and hotter. But that
Mhm.
that changed really quick. First time one of my kids noticed I didn't one of my older kids noticed that I was not the same as them. I no longer slept in even remotely, even in panties, always
Mhm.
clothes. But but now they're older, they don't come in my room so much, but that's irrelevant. Now I have cute pajamas and actually for that purpose purchased for that reason. And that's a silly little self-love thing I do. you
Mhm.
know, I like the ones that feel nice. They're not a some of them are the winter ones aren't always like sexy, but they're cute and comfortable.
Yep. Yep. I hear
So
ya.
I'm into
I
it.
hear.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have a request here. This is
Sure.
Huffle's passing it along. Okay, the person, Just Me asked if we could please discuss emotional abuse some more. Is there anything in particular, Just Me, that you would like for us to discuss about that? Let me scroll up here. Oh, recognizing emotional abuse. Well, well, in terms of other people and dating, it starts off, emotional abuse feels like abuse because it is. So
Yes.
it starts off with really getting in tune with levels of discomfort.
Mm.
If you're around somebody, they don't have to be 100% abusive all the time. They don't have to be your enemy or your ex. It could be a coworker, it could be a friend, could
Mhm.
be a family member. But when somebody does something, well, kind of with emotional abuse, it's kind of this defining, diminishing, devaluing type statements that are
Yeah.
made. And so that tends to come across as uncomfortable. It might have, and again, it runs that whole spectrum from intentional to potentially unintentional.
Mhm.
But it could be with malicious intent. It could be more, oh, somebody was just teasing and they didn't mean harm. But regardless, that's the thing. We don't need to figure out somebody else's intent. All
Mhm.
we need to do is figure out what's comfortable or uncomfortable for you, and then setting that boundary and
Yeah.
realizing that they don't, um, it doesn't matter. Like, if, let's say, if somebody is teasing, um, it doesn't matter. Like, that doesn't make it okay. If you don't like being joked with that way, then that's not okay.
Right.
That's it. Period. End of story. So if it's hurting your feelings and you're letting them know and they continue to do it, then that's a huge problem. That's the problem.
Yes.
It's not even really what they're saying. It's the fact that they keep discounting and steamrolling over your boundaries.
Yes. 100%. And I think, you pretty much said it all, but I think when you're in any situation and you have that feeling where you feel devalued or not good enough or like that person thinks they're better than you or whatever, whether it's a spouse, a partner, an ex, a parent, a coworker, a friend, a neighbor, you know, trust yourself, trust your intuition. I like a three strikes you're out kind of rule for little confusing things. So if you're in a situation where, let's say, you have a new neighbor and one day they're like, hey, neighbor, blah, 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 here's a new casserole I gave you, just keep the dish. And then, like, a week later, they're like, can I get my dish back? And then you give them the dish back and you think maybe they didn't say that. You doubt yourself. And then the next, and then if it happens again, then you'll know and you'll even then you reiterate, you go, did you say I should keep the dish? And they say, yeah. And then the next time they ask for the dish back again, that's a lame example I just came up with. But then, at some point, I think in that case, two strikes is enough. Um, but my point is when somebody does something tiny that you're kind of like, is that gaslighting? Or are they just crazy? Am I crazy? What's happening?
Mhm.
If it's tiny, then you can give them a chance, one chance, two chance, whatever. But if it's if you walk away from that person feeling not good more often than you walk away from them feeling good, or when you've spent time with them, you walk away feeling like deflated and devastated each time you talk to them. Maybe not even devastated, deflated, I think is one of the big signs for me. Like, for example, if I'm in a great mood and then I have to deal with a toxic person, for a minute, I might be deflated. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I might just kind of be like, fine, fine. And I'll have to do something to change it or I'll be stuck there all day. So when somebody makes you feel like that, where you have to fix your mood after you deal with them, that might be
Yeah.
a sign, you know,
Yeah.
confusion around that person all the time, another sign, all those kinds of little things.
Yeah. At a minimum, those are all signs that there's a boundary violation has occurred.
Yes, which
And
is bad.
because, yeah, and the reality is nobody else knows where our boundaries are, because
Mm,
and oftentimes we don't. Our
that's right.
boundaries are continually shifting. Like the example the other day, I was in so much pain. I was in a class and I was standing for 10 hours. My bones just felt like they were going to turn to sawdust. I was in so much pain.
Mm,
And m- 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 my boundaries were very different because of that. So I wasn't finding things funny. I wasn't in the mood to do pretty much anything. So I guess the point of that is our boundaries are in a constant state of ebb and flow based on the person, based on the situation, based on what's going on with us internally. And
Mhm,
that's why it's so important to be able to express them and to be with somebody who's proven themselves to be emotionally safe enough
mhm.
that they can hear your boundary and then respect that.
I love that. Yeah, that's really valid. I think that's
That's a
important.
great sign for me is if I leave any interaction feeling like I need to go vent about that situation or that
Mhm.
person, then that's a sign that I have allowed my boundaries to get way pushed and I need to get things back in alignment.
I
And
think that's powerful. Keep
yeah,
talking.
it is. It is.
Yeah.
It's really powerful because
Mhm.
it's um, that's not a normal reaction
Mm-mm.
to feel like, oh, I need to go, uh, vent, or I'm just really upset and I need to just kind of go dump on somebody else about
Someone's
this situation. Yeah, or
Mhm.
dump in my journal or whatever. Realizing, okay, this is because there's been boundaries that have been violated and I need to get those boundaries back in place. When those boundaries are back in place, all of that anger dissolves.
I love that so much because I never even it never that I mean, it makes so much sense, but it just never even occurred to me to think of it in that way. I love that, Dana. That's really good. I'm gonna talk about that on my channel. And don't worry, I'll credit you. It's a great idea, and it really is so true because as you're talking, I'm thinking about the times that I have vented about anyone recently.
Mhm,
There are a few times, and any time that I did, I had a good reason. And
mhm.
that speaks volumes to me. That's really,
Yeah.
really
And,
yeah.
and the solution isn't getting better at tolerating those boundary
Mm-mm.
violations. A
Ding,
lot
ding.
of people will go into therapy or they'll want to talk in a support group or talk to their best friend or whatever and vent and vent and vent and vent. But venting is not the same thing as taking corrective action.
Mm-mm.
And now, granted, some situations corrective action really can't be taken because the person's incredibly dangerous or whatnot. But I would say more often than not, some action can be taken. So getting
Yep.
clear on what that needs to be. Another point of the just me, you'd mentioned about emotional abuse and kind of identifying it, and we were talking about leaving a situation or leaving another person's presence and feeling deeply uncomfortable and um, realizing one of the game changers for me was realizing I don't do perpetual confusion and I don't do crazy making. And so if a situation like Angie's example of the casserole dish, if I have a neighbor who's on again, off again, oh, you can have it. No, you can't have it. I need it back. Can I have it? I just don't do that. So,
Mm-mm.
and I don't need to figure out what's going on with them. If they're
Right.
really busy, if they're forgetful, if they have Alzheimer's, if they're playing games, whatever, I'm just going to go ahead and just say, hey, you know what? Why don't you just take it with you?
Hmm.
And no, nothing in here.
Right.
Like there's no emotional,
Right.
nothing for me. It's sort of like, no, I just, I don't want that unnecessary stress in my
Yeah.
life. So
Totally
just
with you.
go with it.
Yep. Love it. It's really, really a good point. Yeah. There's a good note from Huffle Mom here. She says, regular people will respect your boundaries. A narcissist will try to talk you into dropping your boundaries for their sake. That's the truth. I've seen that a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah. And even though they don't necessarily be like, okay, listen, I know you have this boundary, but let's talk about why you shouldn't have it. It's not never goes like that. It goes like, you know, they push, you go, wait a minute, and they go, are you sure? And then they either snuggle you in, as in, they love you so hard that you're like, "Oh, they love me," and you let them by, or they bully you, depending on at which point you are in the relationship. I can't tell you how many times I stepped back and back and back and back from my own boundaries and allowed them to be crossed until I was, like, pressed up against the corner in the wall and I couldn't move,
Mhm.
proverbially speaking, and I think that's a very, very astute point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's see.
Yeah.
Jack Lemon's gonna be giving Huffle Mom a pedicure. Go, Jack.
That sounds
Love
delightful.
it. Love it.
Let's see. Just me says I have a neighbor that seems normal sometimes and then out of the blue says horrific things that I never said.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, steer
It
clear.
yeah, like, that's the thing with that kinda stuff. It's, um, that the problematic stuff weighs a lot more than anything good.
Yes.
So if somebody's shown you that there's some, like, major erratic stuff going on, that there's something's going on there, that you're not sharing the same reality,
Mhm.
whatever, I would just that's time to get some massive distance.
Yes, yes. That's scary, actually. It's
It
yeah,
is.
people. Um, okay. Yeah, I think you're right. Mental illness is different than personality disorder, and so I think
Yeah,
it's
like, if
yeah.
it's out of the blue and there's maybe, like, paranoia or,
Mhm.
um, just kind of uncalled for hostility, like, there's some more going on there.
Lock your doors.
Yeah,
Get it a
yeah,
motion sensor lights, alarms. Sorry, I'm not trying to make you paranoid.
yeah.
Um, but if they're too crazy, then crazy is not a good word. All right, moving on. um, sorry about that. So here we have MS saying she was also nail shamed. We talked about, the nail shaming or her mother earlier. Someone was nail shaming. Sorry, Monica was saying her mother used to nail shame her about going and getting her nails done or whatever. And, MS said same deal, same thing happened to MS. So I think that's a common thing for narcissists, whether it's a mother or a spouse or a whatever. Even from women to men, you'll see it. Sometimes a female narcissist with a male, like they'll go get a new haircut. Well, who are you getting your haircut for? Or whatever. Or they'll trim up their beard a different way or whatever. And yeah, same
Mhm.
deal. Okay.
And here's a comment from Lori who says, "I
Mhm.
have to vent so much. That's why I need counseling."
Mm,
And yes, this is why a lot of people get into counseling, but I would say that this is a misconception about counseling.
mhm,
So there's absolutely a time and place to vent, to kind of tell our experience and to get validation for it. Um, but really, there comes a point or a shift in that counseling where there's going to be a focus on kind of learning more adaptive ways um, of interacting
mhm.
with problematic people.
Yes.
So if you're like I said, there's a difference between venting and actually taking corrective action, and that corrective action is going to be through boundaries, through kind of what we're internalizing, what kind of core beliefs we might have, changing a lot of that.
Hmm.
So it's important. So it's not just, I'm going to go in there for an hour a week and then just dump everything and then walk out. That's, it doesn't help in the long run. If anything, it just kind of allows that problem to continue.
Hmm. Yes, absolutely. Okay, let's
So,
see. I am looking. I just thought I had one, but the chat just rolled back up on me. Um, yeah, sometime we need to talk, and we can do it, in the future with. But we should have that another one of those frank discussions we had a while back about intimacy, because I've seen. Here's a question from Mystique that I guess this one might be okay to talk about. I'll just skip the words
oh,
that
go
are.
for it.
Is
YouTube
it
hates
okay?
my channel anyhow. Go
Me
ahead.
too.
It blocks half my stuff. So,
Yep. All right. Same, same. Um,
mhm.
Mystique says my ex would offer a message. I'm sorry, a massage, and because it would always become sexual, I started to say no thanks. So the next time he told me it wouldn't become sexual, and then afterward he told me that I said I would do it. So that's a gaslighting thing around that. But I've seen a lot of weird sex stuff with narcissists, right? And I see
Mhm.
a lot of people talking about it. I hear clients. I'm dealing with one client right now who it, she's the most positive person I've ever met in my whole life, but she was literally going through active. I'm not even going to say the words. Bad, bad, bad stuff in that area. Really bad stuff. And the threshold for abuse is very high with some of us, and in her case, it's upsettingly high. And um, but she's doing really great. She's healing and doing really great now, so that's good. But my point is, I think a lot of us have dealt with whether it was just this is outside of my normal preference, or this is outside of my normal ethical behavior, or this is outside of what I feel comfortable with, or this is even more than that. A lot of us have gone through things, weird sex things with narcissists, and then you've got the addicts, those who are addicted to sex or porn, and it's an ongoing thing. Okay, I've said every word that could probably get you in trouble by now.
Mhm.
Um, but I just think it's really very common. What are your thoughts about it or
Well,
anything?
yeah. Well, with narcissists especially, I mean, at the core, it's all about them all the time, right? So there is a huge lack of respect for the boundaries of other people. So I think kind of knowing that, realizing that they have a very problematic way of living and being and interacting in the world.
Hmm.
So it's uh, I think the sooner you realize that they don't have any long-lasting respect for the boundaries of others, the easier it's going to be to kind of choose your actions around them. So yeah, I um, you're going to have to, if you're going to be around somebody in a situation like that, you're going to have to hold your boundaries 3 times as much. Don't look to them to respect whatever you said. They're
Right.
going to continue to push that.
Hmm. 100%. And this is a little bit off topic, but it's something that I think is a really great tip that I took me too long to learn. I'm going to share it if that's okay with you from Huffle
Sure.
Mom. She says, my mother-in-law gossips about everything. Lots of TMI. She said, so I don't share anything personal with her ever. If I don't want people to know about it, she doesn't know. And there are like a lot of people in my own life that I'm on that same level with. Um, I don't like to, I'm with you. I think that's a really, and I think that's exactly what we should all be doing. If there's somebody in our life who, maybe they're very toxic, maybe they're people we can't totally get out of our lives for whatever reason, and I happen to know in their case, in Huffle Mom and Jack Lumen's case, what their deal is, right? So there's a reason they're doing that. There's a reason they're tolerating her. But this right here, don't share anything that you don't want everybody else to know.
Hmm.
Good tip. Yeah.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. Oh, and here's a comment from Faith who says, I made friends with someone while I was recovering from an abusive relationship. Now that I'm out of the fog and moving on with my life, I see her as totally nuts. I am keeping my distance, but it is scary how this was once normal for me.
That's the thing. Um, can I just really quick, I'll say
Go
this.
for it. Okay.
I think a lot of us, when we finally come out of the fog and we start to heal and feel ourselves again, or for the first time ever, um, we do look around and go, maybe I need to do a little extra housework in my life. And meaning, I'm talking about in the friends and family area. Like
Hmm.
we'll start to notice more narcissists or other people who are, excessively codependent or whatever the issue is. Somehow they don't fit in with our new, healthier self. And I'm not saying that you should dump everybody in your life, but if somebody makes you feel like that, you know, I like the slow fade away for people like that. If you need to, or just the instant cutoff. But I mean, if you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, which I probably shouldn't even, but the slow fade away works really well for me personally. In a situation like that, I'll just stop calling. I'll respond to their calls briefly if I need to. I won't be disrespectful, but I'll, unless they've done something to me directly, in which case I'll just cut them right off, right off. But if it's a situation where, I kind of feel sorry for them, or I just realize, what, this person isn't right for me or my life or whatever, they kind of make me feel weird or triggered or whatever, then if I need to do the fade away, I do the fade away. What are your thoughts, Dana?
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Well, I think kind of getting reconnected with ourselves or
Mhm.
reconnected or connected for the first time ever, it's a process and it's an evolution of understanding. And so
Yes.
I completely agree with that. Some of the people that I became friends with shortly after getting out of everything in my situation, I
Mhm.
look back and I'm like, oh my God, how did I not see that that was a problem?
Right.
And so it's like it's kind of like learning to walk. Sometimes you do fine and then sometimes you stumble and fall. And
Mhm.
this is where it can feel very defeating of, oh, what's wrong with me? I just always attract narcissists, or I'm never going to get this. And we want to just stop trying. But the reality is it helps tremendously if we cannot internalize that. And if we just realize, you know what, I'm learning some new skills here. I'm learning um, how to slow relationships down and to cultivate trust through appropriate behavior. And um, I'm learning how to be assertive, and I'm learning how to tune in with myself when somebody has crossed a boundary, and like what that looks like and what that means and
Yeah,
how to address it and all of that. And it's not something that any of us just start doing perfectly. Nobody starts at the finish line.
absolutely.
And actually, kind of along the same lines, I heard uh, a gal I was talking to the other day made a comment about this, something along the lines of, oh, you know how they say, I don't know, something like 90% of people that set New Year's resolutions fail. She said, well, it's actually 100%,
Mm,
but the 10% that actually achieve their goal, they they fail and then they try again. They fail and they try again. They fail
mm,
and they try again. And I loved that distinction because that's exactly what it is when it comes to doing anything different, anything
that's right.
new. And so, yeah, this is one of the reasons I encourage people to start practicing these skills in like low
Mhm.
stakes situations
Yes.
with online groups or interacting with people through meetup.com when the world kind of opens up again. Uh, these kinds of things. It's much easier to be aware, to be honest with ourselves if somebody's treating us in a way that we're not comfortable with if we're not
Mhm.
emotionally invested in them. It's so much more difficult if we're trying to just date and we're like, oh, I really want this person to like me, or I'm really attracted to this person, or uh, whatever. That can pull you in a different direction. So just, um, yeah, practice with acquaintances, that kind of
Mhm.
thing, and just go slow.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I'll tell you something. Um, I really, I really like that. Uh, Sorry, I was just thinking of a quote. It said, sorry, I just lost it. What was the main message of what you just said about
Was it the
um,
failing, the
failing? Oh,
90% fail?
yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. A quote I wanted to share about that was, and I don't know who said it, but it was basically, I mean, I always say this. I always say, and I didn't make this up, but you never really fail until you stop trying. And there's an actual quote out there somebody said first. I didn't make it up, but I say it all the time because that's the truth. And I I'm a walking, living, breathing example of all of that. So, woo, it's true. Anything that you want to do, I really think if you have the the mental and physical capacity, or you can gain that mental or physical capacity, then you can do it if you want to. You just have to keep going, you know. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we should probably wrap
Oh
up.
my
We're over.
gosh.
Yeah.
I didn't even what it was a good one today, Dana. Thank you.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess with the Valentine's Day stuff, how about you message me and then I'll post it in the
Okay.
comments on the video, and then I'll post it in the support group, and
Sounds good.
everything else we'll figure it out.
Okay.
So, yeah. And I'd love to hear if you guys want to mention some self-love ideas that you have, ways to value yourself. Please comment down below in the comments and we'll discuss it on the next live stream over on
Absolutely.
Angie's channel. So,
See you there.
yes, yeah. So, real quick, if you would like to be notified of these live streams, Angie and I try to do every Tuesday afternoon, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12:30 Central. You can subscribe to both of our channels, Angie Atkinson, and then mine is Thrive After Abuse. You can also text the word Angie Live, all one word, to the number 33222, or Dana Live, all one word, to the number 22999. And you'll be notified. So, Angie, thank you so much for your time. And I guess we'll see you next week over on your channel.
See you then. All
Okay.
right. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks, Dana.
Bye.